Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for braving the rain. It's pretty grim outside, so it's nice to get cosy in the back of here. Obviously, tonight is a really intimate event to meet author Nigella Lawson. We're both really excited about tonight, so I hope you enjoy it too. I don't think she needs introduction, but I first met Nigella in July of last year when she took over my chair as editor of Stylist for a very special guest edit. And I got to witness her incredible work ethic, her vision, her creativity, and probably fair to say no-nonsense attitude firsthand. And that led, for those that you saw it, to a really iconic special issue, which probably the piece de resistance was the caramel oozing down her face on the cover. It's for those reasons, not just the caramel, and more, that Nigella has been such a huge success. She's had 9 books, 9 TV series, 7 awards so far. She really is queen of the kitchen and now the iPad too. And that's what we're here to discuss this evening. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Nigella Lawson. Oh, well, welcome and thank you so much for joining us this evening. Obviously, the focus of tonight's event is to explore and discuss your 2 new apps, which are Quick Collections and Nigellissima. So we're going to spend about 30 minutes talking through those, and then we'll go to the floor for a Q&A where you get to put your questions to Nigella, so get thinking. But let's start with Quick Collections, and we'll have a little look through that. Obviously, along with half the world, I've had the iPhone app, which I've sworn religiously by, often using it on the bus, doing my shopping lists. So actually going to iPad seems the natural progression. And despite being a regular user, I must admit I hadn't realised it was 6 steps, which must be quite hard work to do. Is it hard to turn complex recipes into quick and simple and easy?
Well, it may be, but I don't do complex recipes, and I think food is simple, or can be simple in its own. I mean, there are some recipes I've done which have got, fewer than 6, or 3 steps. I mean, I think really it's just always about thinking what tastes good as it is. How do you choose recipes, especially when choosing it for an app? I felt very strongly, I came up with the notion of the Quick Collection because I thought really, if you're going to be looking at recipes on your iPhone and now iPad, it's often because you're at work and you're trying to think, what shall I cook tonight? Therefore, you're not really looking for something incredibly complicated that says day 1, marinate the beans, day 2, stop, that sort of thing, which you would just put down. So I knew it had to be stuff that you were thinking, I've only got 20 minutes at lunchtime. I need to go and get some ingredients. How can I do that? Which is how we came up with the shopping list facility.
Yeah.
And then, I'm talking about lots of it all in one. And then, of course, I knew, I can see I make mine incredibly messy. I love it. But most people treat their equipment with more respect. And the idea being, it's in, then you've done your shopping list, you've done your shopping, it's in the kitchen. So if I'm going forward a bit, that we introduce these technical steps whereby you can feel very, very powerful and you can control the iPhone or indeed iPad by voice. So rather than you're in the middle of cooking, you've got gravy or oil on your hand, you don't want to press next step. You just say, forwards,
I like that feature. It's
forwards, backwards, if you want to go
an
back.
app that obeys your demand. It's good.
Yes, it is so good. No one else obeys mine, and I'll say not. So it's very, very nice to have that. But I think really it was about the sort of recipes I want when I'm busy and I want to make the most of what little time I have.
Yeah. Well, it certainly does that. So let's have a little look at the collections, because this is obviously a new version to the one we saw before. So on the main... Do you want to talk through the collections? Because there's the main collection where we have
it goes in
7.
this many different ways.
The thing is, this is what I love about it. It's so easy to use, and actually I'll go through a couple of bits on it. But there's the key collections, if you like, and then there's different ways to find them, isn't there?
Well, yes. It's what I felt is that there are so many different ways of thinking. What shall I have for supper tonight? And so I've got, you've got one list which is just all the recipes there. There's another one which is what's in your fridge, which obviously you can't list every single item, and then it doesn't do a ready steady cook. But if you've got a certain ingredient in there that you want using up, that might say, used by 5 days ago, you're going to want something then, and so I go that way. And I've done moods as well, because I feel that there are certain moods you're in that, for me, my mood probably dominates my choice of food more than anything else. So I thought, if it's like that for me, and this is after all my app, that's what I'm going to do. And then we've done my book as well, and we've got a random one, which is why not try. So that's completely like getting a roulette wheel, and I quite like the idea of doing that. But really, as I say, and then again, if you wanted to do it just purely as you might do looking at an index, you can do that as well. I wanted to make it as flexible as possible. I mean, I'm a book person. I love books. I couldn't be without books. But I'm also a complete gadget freak. And I love thinking a bit about this is how it suits a book. How is it going to suit it as an app? And I think especially doing the iPad, the iPad app, which I really wanted, because I love the photographs and I love the idea of making them so lush. And I also am so addicted to my own iPad, as you can probably see, in the way it's been knocked about. But I think really you've got to treat every medium, for its own, in the way that suits it.
Yeah,
I don't translate book to TV just by taking one recipe and one chapter, moving it. Every medium has its own demands, and that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. Well, I've been playing with it for the past few days, and it is super simple. That's the beauty of it.
It's simple, but
it
does look great. I'm so happy the way it looks, because I felt it was very important, I suppose, both with the Nigellissima, which we'll get to in a minute, and this, that I really wanted to evoke something that I try and convey through the books and through the TV, which is something which the production values are so high and it all looks so beautiful that you just feel slightly better just by looking at it. And so I didn't want it just being, it had to be efficient, it had to be flexible, it had to work practically, but I also wanted it to be aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, which it does brilliantly. And you could be a foodie voyeur, just have a look, get some inspiration, feel all excited. I mean, my favourite category is the what's in your fridge. I just think it's brilliant, which I'll go through. Because it is that you get home from work, a little bit stressed, what am I going to do?
Yes.
And I just thought it was so easy to use. So let's go into one of the recipes and we can have a little look.
You really see it better on the iPad, don't you? I mean, I love, the one on the phone is very good, like it's in your pocket. But I like the fact that you can, well, I'm a greedy person, so I got more food pictures on this now. That makes me feel happy.
The greedy is nice. So we can, there's so many recipes on here, and if you sort of get it, download it and have a play, you can have an explore. But this is going in for cheese, which is my favourite, which is why I've gone in there. But I just want to go into the recipe so we can start to have a look.
Yes.
So you've mentioned a few ways to use it. But what's really nice is that you have the simple voice command, which is the little face in top right, which I won't test because it's a little noisy in here, and it did obey me perfectly last night.
Yes, it obeyed me.
But you can just skim through the recipes. So really, again, bite-sized, very hard to get lost as you go through it. But there's so many charming little features. It's just really cute. And I love the... you can send little dinner invites. So if I know my friend loves halloumi, I can do this, flash up a little email to them, personalise it and send that through, which I thought was very cute, actually, I have to say.
It's funny, because I wasn't sure about that at first, because I thought, what kind of rude person needs to be told what they're going to be fed? But actually, it's been incredibly popular.
And it's got a picture.
But it's quite nice, and also sometimes it's just quite fun. Almost, you could just sort of say, I'm eating this tonight. Sorry, you're not. You could do whatever. But it is quite nice. I think with it. I don't know, and there's such pretty pictures that it's been fun to move that.
It's so a user's friend. And then you can email yourself a shopping list, or you can add your ingredients to the shopping list. So if I add it, you can see at the bottom that those 10 little items appeared, and I can...
And in a way, the emailing yourself a shopping list is for those of us who have enough of the old school about us, is that when we go to the shop, we want something written down. Because you can email it to yourself and then print it. So it's really for that, because obviously, or you can take this and go shopping with it. I mean, I think it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I feel as much as possible, you've got to think each of us wants something a little bit different in the way we use
And
things.
it's so nice because, being very anal, you get to tick things off if you already got them
I
in the
love
house as well.
Yeah, I like a bit of ticking off.
I thought that was very nice.
Yes.
But you can also add notes, which I think is really good, because I like books and I like to scribble on them and like to be able to sort of say, oh, a little bit more of this or less of that. And you can do that with a text note, so you can add it in and that will add to your recipe. Or you can do it with a voice note, which I was going to ask Nigella to record for us.
I think so. I don't mind, but so I think that a text note is quite useful if you're thinking afterwards. If you might have thought, oh, for example, I know this sounds really awful, but those of you who follow me on Twitter know that I take a photograph of everything I eat. What I also do is I keep a list of, when I have people over, I write down what I gave them to eat. So, for example, if I were doing it, I might say, oh, did that when Nick came round or whatever. But you can also, if you're doing it, it's easier as a voice message. You could also say, for example, like, say we were choosing one of Lisa's favourites, which is the oozing egg and halloumi.
Yes.
Say I had, for example, my agent Ed, who cannot stand a runny yolk. I might put a voice note, add an extra 3 minutes cooking time to egg for Ed, or something like that reminds you. And I think it's quite useful that you can do it either way. I mean, I don't like... sometimes if you're cooking, you don't have time to write something down.
No, and it is nice. It makes it yours, which obviously makes it a more personal experience.
Well, as you know, we worked together at Stylist when I did my guest editor thing, is that I am someone who likes to keep it. I have my hands on everything.
It's fair to say, yes.
Yes. But
my seat was warmer with Nigella in it. Definitely.
But that's what makes these things fun. And I think if I can't do anything that feels personal to me, I'd just as soon not do it.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, speaking of which, actually, there's obviously nice little videos that some of these link to, so we really do get a little taste of you coming through the recipes. And if you click at the bottom here, then you'll link through to a video. I won't play it all, but then you can actually see in action, and I'll show you a bit more about the content you can get in videos as well. Which I think is really nice. And then there's also tips on some of them, which are really nice. So you get a little reassuring Nigella voice in your ear when you're cooking. So you can see at the bottom it says Nigella's note. And this one's talking about how you can have a sweet version of the omelette. Again, it's a really nice personal way of adding.
Well, I always like adding a little bit. Oh, well, you could do this too, or why don't you? But I could have done it for every recipe, but it would have taken so much space. You'd have to clear your iPhones and iPads, so I had to be restrained.
Well, let's have a look at the videos, and we'll let everyone discover them properly at home. But there's lots of different categories within this. There's some of the recipes, and I must admit, I made the sesame peanut noodles, and I should have watched the video first because I put in far too much peanut butter. And you say very clearly in the video, it's a third of a pot. So some really useful tips, and they were nice, I'll be honest, but they were very easy. But the how-tos are great as well. It's just so nice to see things in action.
Yes, I always get nervous when filming how-tos because I am quite a clumsy person. So it's all very well, but for example, when I do that, how to get seeds out of a pomegranate. I mean, how many times I hit myself on the hand when I'm doing that, hitting the pomegranate half.
Yeah, it's quite a vigorous action.
It's a vigorous action, but it works.
So there's lots of videos to explore within that as well. So it's very content rich. And I think that probably summarises most of the content in here. But before I move on to Nigellissima, what is your favourite recipe in this collection?
Oh my God, that's a really difficult thing
Pick
to ask a
between your
greedy
children.
person. Pick between my children. It's so hard to say because I look at these pictures now and I could eat pretty much everything there, I'm afraid. I wouldn't ever put a recipe in something that I didn't really adore. Those chocolate brownies are good. I don't know if you can see. I'm just trying to get this. If you did the thing about the chocolate brownies, which is a really brilliant way of doing a birthday cake for grown-ups. I don't know if you can see the picture there. So I did it ages ago. So a friend of mine's husband had a 40th birthday, and she had lots of people coming. And so I did the brownies for her, and I did this pile up and put candles on. And we've since always done it, and it's one of those things like it's so quick and it's so easy, and it looks so spectacular. So I suppose I like that because it's versatile.
Yeah. Okay.
And if you're not made happy by a brownie, there's very little hope for you in the world.
On that note, I shall move to Nigellissima, which is, of course, the name of your brilliant new TV series and book, and this is the app that you've launched to complement it. I mean, can you tell us, start with, why Italy this time? Why dedicate something to a country?
Well, in a sense, Italy's run through everything I've done. You know, I lived there for a year before I went to university and fell in love with Italy and adored everything about it. I've always liked the food. I thought I would write an Italian book earlier on in my career when probably I spoke better Italian, but nevertheless I didn't. And so the book I did now is so different, I suppose. It was much more about how do I cook at home. I'm so inspired by Italy, but I don't exactly go through the trad Italian cookbook every night. It's a bit of an ingredient here, a bit of a touch there. Some of them are very faithful interpretations. I think Italian food kind of suits busy life because on the whole it is quite fast.
Yeah.
I just wanted to do it, and in a sense then in doing the app I really wanted something that showed why I'd done the book, so that's in a way that the focus on the Nigellissima app is, yes, there are recipes. Good point, it was all free, which is obviously greatly in its favour. But I also wanted to talk a bit about what went into the book, or what went into my feelings about Italy. And I think it's a very excitingly made app. I was so impressed that I have a teenage son whose friend is completely one of those geniuses with everything, and he was very, very first time I've impressed a 15-year-old boy, but I know because he couldn't get over how brilliant the app was. So I was thrilled about that.
It is great.
It's
Again,
won me credibility with that brigade.
Well, it's beautiful. It works really well, really nice to use. It's quite whizzy. It's quite there's some good fun stuff in here.
And
as
it's
well,
quite
which I'll
good
talk
too,
through.
because it links. You can link it up. I link it up to to Twitter.
That's
My
great.
blog, which is called Witter, and also I think to Facebook as well. So it's a slightly different animal. It's more interactive, I suppose you'd say. You know.
It is. Well, let's go through, because obviously you mentioned the making of the book, which I've
Yes.
just brought up now. So this.
And actually, I wrote all that while I was in Italy this summer, which was rather fabulous to be doing it from Italy.
And there's lots of great, very personal photos, a little photo album as we go through. And I love all the sort of hand marking. And then there's a great...
Yes, those are my proofs. I thought you would see how messily I work on them.
I've seen some of your proofs, and I can verify. But yeah, I mean, it's great, and I love the fact that it's all from you, and you find out so much more about the book. And
it's so nice. If you move that back again, that pink file. Can you see that pink file? That was the very beginning when I was trying to sort out what recipes and what I wasn't going to do and what I did do. And it's sort of rather extraordinary to see here this incredible new tech thing, and of course it starts off on a desk with a file that you've just scribbled everything by hand. So I rather enjoyed that. It was nice to get it all.
And there's a really great video, which I've just brought up now, which just
when we were
shows
doing the
it
book
all in
shoot.
action.
Yes.
And it's just a really nice personal side to finding out a bit more about the process, I think, which is great. And then I'll just show the recipes, which you go to this little icon at the top with the squares in it. So there's 9 free recipes on this app. Why did you choose those 9?
Oh, it was so difficult. I wanted to represent the book. So, for example, the yellow spaghetti is quick and new. It's an original. It's based on the idea of a risotto Milanese. Why not get all the flavours in the saffron risotto, but get them as a spaghetti sauce, so you're not stirring a lot. And then again, I went a bit back to the 80s with a bit of monkfish rolled up. But I couldn't resist that because I thought I didn't want it just to look like, oh, it's just quick after work things. That's a quick sort of dinner party type idea. And also a tray bake, which obviously takes longer, but it makes your life easier. So I wanted to represent many different aspects. And if you just press on the apple pie, which isn't really an apple pie, it's an apple cake. And I want to tell you a really lovely story about that, which is an Italian follower of mine on Twitter once tweeted a picture, and she said, I've just, Italian apple pie. And I said, oh, look, please, can I have the recipe? And she sent it to me, and I simplified it. Like, I don't peel the apples and things like that. Like, if I was a good Italian mama, I would. And I said to her, look, can I put it in the book? And I've done this to it, and I've these are the steps I've done to make it simpler. And she said yes. And so I love the idea. And there's another recipe slightly that we live in a world now where you share things. I mean, obviously, and I credit her. I always credit anyone who gives me even a bit of an idea. But I think it was very nice to include something that comes from this world where we're tweeting, we're sharing, and it isn't one-way traffic. That I get something I get lots of ideas from other people, and I wanted to, in a way, I suppose, thank for that.
Yeah, well, it's lovely. I mean, again, they're super easy to use and to get around. There's you've got the nice little email ingredients on there. Delete the draft. You can add notes as well. So it's all the lovely touches that you've got in quick collections appear in this, which is just fantastic.
And as I say, I can't remember because I'm very bad at remembering those details, but we have someone over there will remember how many recipes we're adding for Christmas. You know, it's a free update just for a few Christmassy type recipes,
Yes.
I believe. That's
Well,
fantastic. Can you see that vegetable there, the green, that Romanesco?
Oh,
You
yes,
can see it
I've
now,
come out of
but
it.
then
Yeah,
you
haven't I?
saw it in that landscape picture, which I
Here he
find
is.
it so... Yes, those are some of my favourite things. Look how clever they are at turning.
Well, this
rolling.
Latin loves is very sweet, actually. So
Yeah.
everything comes to life, and you can twirl
Yeah.
it round yourself and have a little play
And I
with it.
try and give an idea what you would cook with it without actually writing out a recipe. Just give this is how I use it or how I like it.
Well, I think that's one of the things that's relevant from your book and your series is the way that you talk about ingredients. I mean, garlic oil must have sold out across
I
the
don't know,
world.
but all I will say is there isn't a chef in the country who doesn't disapprove of garlic oil very, very strongly.
I bought
so
some.
it's
I'm a
very, very
convert.
useful, but it's the purists don't like it. But you see, what I really love, and this is something we have to, I really feel I need to start off a campaign. Can you see that lovely coffee machine? It's called La Signora. I bought that when I bought my first flat 125 years ago, and they no longer make it. It's called La Signora because of its shape. So I feel we have to make it come back because all you can do is get those hexagonal ones, which, well, nice, don't have anything of that charm. So if I ever start a petition to bring that back into manufacture, please.
Start your Twitter campaign now. Right, so we'll go on to... let me come off of that, sorry. Back to the home page. So the final bit was something you've mentioned already, but
And that's me being interviewed in my garden.
in Nigella's, Italy.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
really...
Oh yes,
It was a really, really hot day. I was very, very hot.
There's lots of videos to play with on
Yeah.
there. And then the final bit I wanted to look at, which is what you mentioned earlier, was the Twitter feed, the blog feed, and the Facebook
Yes.
feed, which is actually quite unique and not something I've seen.
I haven't
really
seen it. And the
before.
way it moves all in different ways, and it's sort of
constantly updating. I mean, it's
I think my last...
food voyeur's dream.
Yeah, I think that's lunch today.
That's very nice.
Chicken,
What is it?
some chicken which I roasted with a whole head of garlic and some butternut squash which has been in my fridge for too long on some rocket, and then just juices. It was very delicious.
So why do you do this? Because this is lots of work actually, doing the blog, the Twitter feed.
I'm
the
not
Facebook
so
feed.
good about keeping the blog updated, but I am going to get some kind of app made so I can download from my phone. I find once I think I have to sit at a computer, it makes me think I'm meant to have a thought with a capital T. Whereas if I could just do it wherever I was from my phone. Well, tweeting's easy because I just do what I eat. And then Facebook I often forget, but that's the same. That's why those pictures are the same there, because there isn't a total overlap, although sometimes I'll do something different. But I think my last tweet was just, I am getting ready to come here.
It is. Here it is at the top.
Yes, I was then, because I was told don't wear black, and that threw me into some sort of confusion because all my clothes are black. And then when I found this, I found out that this dress, which I've had for ages, is being worn by a very, very thin Bond girl in all her publicity photographs, which gave me more anxiety.
You're looking fabulous. Don't worry, Nigella. Right, well, that probably takes us through the app, which gives us probably about 5 to 10 minutes for questions. So if I could just ask you to wait for the microphone, which I can't quite see at the moment. There's one over here.
And it's made me realise I must update.
And what
I'm
is it?
going to update my blog, my Witter.
Well, we shall look forward to it. Right, first question.
Bought quite a few of your books, but I'm just interested, will you be coming out with a healthy option seeing as you're looking very healthy at the moment.
But
You
my
looked
food
great
is
before.
healthy. But my food, listen, you don't be thrown by everything you read. There may be a Nutella cheesecake recipe in the book, which, by the way, I didn't mean anyone to eat the whole cheesecake or to make it that much. I mean, I probably make it 4 times a year and only have a slice each time, which doesn't seem to me excessive. But also, there are an incredible amount of recipes which would be just thought of as, if you were compiling a so-called healthy eating book, would be in there too. The thing is about balance, and it reflects the way I eat. But actually, there's, you can see if you would. I don't know if you can point at anything now with the recipes. They aren't. I mean, that spaghetti there with a bit of tuna and lemon and rocket.
I mean, this is
can't.
great.
I can't see. Obviously, if you're going to go look in indulgence, but I think actually, funny enough, the Nigellissima, both the app and the book, have got more so-called healthy food in them because that's Italian food. Really,
And I think
it's
actually I
mixed.
noticed, because there's the soup, salad, sides, and this.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a bit of something for everyone.
Because I eat a bit. Sometimes I want to eat something very plain, with plain grilled fish and a salad, and sometimes it's time for a cheesecake. I mean, it really does depend. But I'm not. I don't know that. I just don't have the right psychology to ban foodstuffs from my life.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your question. Next question, please.
Thank you. I love all your Italian stuff. It all looks beautiful. I was wondering if there were any other cuisines that were quite as close to your heart.
There's no cuisine as close to my heart as Italy. I mean, there are many cuisines that interest me, but I can speak Italian and I've lived there, so that makes it easier. I can speak French, and I spent a lot of time in France, and some of it interests me, but mostly it wouldn't occur to me to do something like that. Maybe one should be really come out there, do something no one's expecting, like something German food, because I do quite like German food. Scandinavian food I love, and I spent a lot of time in Scandinavia. But I don't know that normally I like the freedom that gets from mixing cultures. I'm a Londoner, therefore that's what I come from, a cosmopolitan melting pot, I suppose. But Italy is always going to be a special place. It's where I went when I was young and became independent, I think. So.
Thank you. Next question. Lady at the back in pink over there. Thank you.
Just start by embarrassing myself and saying I'm a really massive fan.
It's not embarrassing.
And secondly,
Thank you.
just wondering, do you prefer the more creative side of cooking or the more scientific side of baking?
Well, I came to baking late, and when I wrote I wrote How to Be a Domestic Goddess, and I think it came out in 2000, which was I had discovered baking and wanted the world to do so as well, and luckily, gratifyingly to me, they did. Now that I have become used to it and I bake a lot, it feels creative as well as scientific. I mean, I think that baking is a combination of chemistry and poetry. So you can't just be a chemist. You need to have some feel for taste as well. Otherwise, so for me, and also I can't do the very intricate stuff. I wouldn't do terribly well on the Great British Bake Off, which I love. But nevertheless, I think that they feed into one another. I think I'm at my most relaxed often cooking and not thinking about it, and I love that. But you have to have an element of freedom when you bake as well. Not at first, but once you've got used to, you can't just say, oh, I think I'll put 1 egg in, not 2. But you certainly can say, I think I'm going to do cinnamon and not vanilla, or play with different ways of different icing. So I think that you can always be creative.
Anything on this side of the room? Very quiet.
Yeah, very quiet
here.
over there.
Thank you.
How much actual time do you spend personally on actually the creation and development of the apps? So on average, I mean,
I don't know about actual time in that I don't put a stopwatch on, but I am very, very involved. The only area I'm not involved is anything that needs, proper geekery. which I would love one day to be able to do. But, I don't write computer code or understand it. But I am... There is no detail that I don't impose, if not my will, then certainly present my view very, very forcefully. That's the best way I can put it.
It's the all-seeing eye of Nigella, I think.
Well, I am slightly an obsessive person, and anything that has my name on it. I mean, for example, I get very annoyed when people say, I can't believe you do your own tweeting. I would never let anyone put something under my name that I haven't written. Now, occasionally, you can see on Facebook, sometimes you can tell when it's not me because then I'm referred to in the third person. But otherwise, it's very important for me that anything that has my name on it actually comes from me, which can get a bit, sometimes it's tiring, and of course, sometimes it means you get a bit behind. But I would rather get a bit behind, but everything be me. And anyway, I have those responsible for actually doing the hard work of building the apps technically here, and I'm sure they'll tell you that I'm sure I was very, very annoying.
I can't believe it.
Don't try.
Do you do the app at the same time as doing the book and the series, or does it follow once you finish the book?
I think, I can't get the timing exactly right. I think we got the app mostly done before filming. We did film a teeny bit of the app just once we'd started, but otherwise we had to get most of it done before, because once you start filming, you're down some rabbit hole and you don't come out. So we did most of the app before, but I left chunks of writing, which I did after filming when I was in Italy on my summer holidays. So I tried to make it just fit what I could do.
Okay. I've got time for 2 more questions, so get in or forever hold your peace. Gentleman here.
When you're doing your cooking, would you ever do a combination of dishes that have a lot of spice in them to mild dishes?
Oh yeah, I do like spicy food, but a lot of the food I cook isn't very spicy because I'm often cooking for children. That's not meant to say. So I sort of mix it. And also, again, it's as I say, I've put... for example, if you look at the app, one of the moods I've got is comfort. Now, you're going to want different sorts of food. I do quite like hot and spicy food for comfort sometimes, but I also think sometimes you want something that's very mild, never bland. I don't like blandness, but I sometimes don't need food to jump up and down and dance. I just want it to be there to soothe me.
Okay, and last question, lady over in the corner.
What's your favourite dish to make at the moment? Like if you were going home this evening and you wanted something, what would it be?
Well, I'm having a bit of a tray bake time at the moment, but that's also because it is so easy to do. And I quite like, for me, it's the best way of doing it because it's very simple, no carving, and I really like making, thinking about what can I marinate something in, even if it's only for 15 minutes. I do think there's something about that. It's a very good way as well of using up things you have, because really most vegetables and most different sorts of meats can all go on a tray. And I'm also this is the last thing I'll say, is that I'm such a chicken thigh person. I always try and talk people out of buying, breast of chicken, which I always, chicken thigh is half the price and twice the taste. So I always feel it's kind of like and then you've got the bones and make soup later. So altogether, I feel that sort of cooking is just, for me, it's cozy, but it doesn't take hours and hours. So I like that. But that's at the moment. You could ask me something next week and it would be something different. I'm going through a lot of soups. I'm on the road at the moment, doing book signings, around the country. And so I've made lots of soups, which I then take out and take. So tomorrow is pumpkin and ginger, just so you know. I haven't decided what Friday is yet, but it's quite nice then. It gives me something to look forward to, because often there's no time to eat, and that's not good for me.
No, not good for anyone. Well, look, that's all we've got time for today. Thank you all so much for joining us. I urge you to download these apps as soon as you can. Eat something yummy for dinner tonight. But before we go, please join me in a huge thank you to Nigella Lawson for coming this evening.
And thank you to you.